Thank you for downloading the Wado Radio Podcast. If you love what you're hearing, leave a review on iTunes. We'd love to hear your feedback, and it helps expose others to the show. Thank you, and God bless.
This podcast is brought to you by Covenant Eyes. The internet can be a dangerous place for unguarded eyes and hearts. Covenant Eyes provides the services that protect against the evils and temptations that can be found on the World Wide Web. Visit wadoradio.com/resources for more information about our affiliate, Covenant Eyes.
Everybody lends an ear. I want to thank you in advance for letting us make it clear to y'all.
How about that? DJ Wado here. I got my brothers from Soundvision Entertainment, James Miles, Stephen Ross. What's up, fellas?
What's up? Good.
I was telling the good bishop here before we started. I think this is the first time I've ever had promoters on the show, concert promoters. And here's the interesting thing: concert promoters play a very integral part in the development of Christian hip hop, because for the most part, this is where most people experience the music outside of online, man. So I just want to commend y'all for y'all work that y'all have done over the years, man.
Thank you.
First and foremost, man.
Praise the Lord.
Get the people real quick some of the artists that you guys have done concerts for, so they get some perspective that we just not having some random dudes up here that did a show and had 10 people at it. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. That's happened. That has happened.
Well, I know y'all. Everybody starts somewhere, but you know.
I'll tell you this: we had a real good and a fun run working with the Humble Beast guys.
Sure.
And the reason why I start there is just because there's been some other people who might have more notoriety, but in terms of mission match and vision, it's been real good to partner with those guys. So Beautiful Eulogy, some independent stuff. We broke a couple of things for Prop in terms of doing a release party for him before he went on tour with Cray and them.
Okay.
So it's just a little, I mean, we talking about LA. So we did this at this spot called Club Judah.
Okay.
In South Central LA with like 200 people packed out this hot, sweaty spot.
That was probably crazy.
And it was fun because guess what happened at that show? He brought Jay Gibbons out for the very first time. And everybody was like, who in the world is this? He's like, yeah, this is my fam. And later on, he ends up signing him and stuff like that. So it's been good for us to be able to bring the community together and kind of groundswell. But yeah, we work with a bunch of people. I remember doing another couple fun shows, at least in LA, and then we done stuff in Indy too. But doing some stuff with We Live as Kings when they was together, and doing their album release party. Right,
that was one of my favorite moments.
Absolutely, absolutely,
had to be
bringing them guys together was fun for us all, and then seeing how the Lord used it and then grew kind of their ministry has been it's been tight.
That you guys had an interesting perspective. I was talking with one of my friends the other day about how that was one of the last few albums that really galvanized the entire Christian rap community. It was almost like when that album came out, it was like everybody totally paid attention because it hit so many different people from so many different angles, man.
I remember telling AT, I was like, man, you have one of the strongest teams in the game right now.
Yeah.
Y'all don't really need anybody else outside of the team you have.
Yeah.
I still listen to that album to this day.
Yeah, it was great art, man. So, how did you guys get into promoting concerts and that whole, especially in the Christian rap space? Because, you know,
I started as an artist.
Okay.
So I learned it from that side of it, and then I started learning the business and writing. Artists can be funny. So I learned how to engage artists to try my best to make them happy without making them compromise too much. Then I started doing, my wife and I did a play. We promoted a play.
Wow.
Did all right. We were pretty excited about that back in Indianapolis. And through different relationships, and I ended up here at Legacy. And that's where I met Steve.
Really?
And we just kicked it off like we knew each other for years, man.
You crazy? Oh, yeah, you broke? Oh, that's how it went. We found out stuff about our family, like, oh, you got a gang of kids too?
Yeah,
y'all homeschool? Oh, so you crazy and you broke. Yeah, we need to know each other.
Yeah, it's insane, bro.
Yeah, man. So after I went back, we started talking over the phone here and there, and found out he was involved in some of the same stuff I was involved in Indy. And it was just kindred spirits, man. It's like my family in LA.
Hey, I didn't know that, bro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. We met in a class at Legacy, man, 2009, 2000. Wow. Back then. So here's the beautiful thing about what happened with seeing the need and feeling it. In LA, there's a whole lot of everything going on, and a lot of artists always want to come through there. And what happened was I just had mutual friends who was always involved in kind of volunteering for these things. I was part of the P4CM culture, right? So we always had people coming, and when they came, they wanted to see where to go and who to be with. And what would happen is I would be sometimes available to host folks. And I was able to start learning from these artists. They're like, man, everybody wants us to come out here, but then they want to send a 16, 17-year-old girl to pick us up from the airport. Or then a guy would say, man, they want us to be doing these, 20 city tours, but they want to feed us hot dogs and pizza the whole time, right? And so what I started learning was there's a better way to host the folks when they come in that's more sensitive to their needs, to their families, and also to their convictions. Like, why are we sending single girls that's groupies, jumping all up and down to pick them up from the airport? Right. And so that kind of stuff just made it like, man, we need to be able to do a better job of setting the stage for them. So that was that side, just relationally engaging with some artists, gave us opportunities to do that. And then on the flip side, when it came down to actually doing the shows, we kind of got tired of going to the same old show where the elements of it weren't really desirable, but you would tolerate it because it's your favorite artist. So it's like the subs don't sub, right? The speakers is whack. The microphone ain't nothing but a whole bunch of feedback the whole times. And it's like, man, all you got to do is pay attention a little bit and do it with excellence. So we just saw a need that could be filled and kind of moved into that from the groundswell side of things. And it's been, the Lord's done great things.
How do you guys decide? Because you live in LA, you live in Indy, you guys have done events in both. How do you decide which artists to book, which tours to book, which concerts to book, like putting the bill together, and then where to have it?
That's a good question. A lot of the stuff, when you're looking at business, you got to look at dollars.
Yeah.
And there's been times where stuff just didn't make sense.
Wow.
And we did it anyway. So in some cases, it's for the love.
Yep.
Then in other cases,
like you just feel what this artist is doing or the movement behind it or whatever,
and we're just taking a chance. Then in other cases, it's we're contacted by some people, and it just moves from there. We negotiate, and then we go to some of the venues that we're connected to and see if it makes sense. And in a lot of cases, it doesn't, bro.
Yeah,
it just doesn't.
Yeah, I think one of the things is like when I recognized that there was a chasm between an artist's perspective of his following and his real perspective, like or the reality. Then it's like, okay, how do I educate this person so that they can do it? Because I do want to be able to bring you here. I would love to do this, but like, let me show you how to have some skin in the game. Right? Yeah. Wait, I mean, last time I saw you in Atlanta, what I asked you, I'm like, man, is Joe Cali listening? Is it still up? The reason why I'm asking those kinds of questions is because it's like you need to be where you popping. Right? It doesn't make sense to be somewhere else. So anyway, educating artists like that is sometimes difficult, but we've taken that on like as a personal, like, it's just that's a stewardship issue for us to be able to help a guy to understand, like, man, this writer says this, and I understand you want to be able to see that kind of return. If things go well, we can put it together to where that's exactly what it would be, but it doesn't make dollars and cents for us to foot all of that and then be in the red, and so sometimes we got to work through that. But then there's the other times where we're like, man, we really love this. How can we do it? And you got two people. AT is the one. AT was like, yo, okay. Them too. We've never gotten into a situation where we've had to negotiate, push a whole bunch of stuff back and forth with them. It's always like, okay, how can we collaborate on this?
And make it make sense.
And sometimes, brother, it's not a money making machine.
It's not.
Right? Yeah. But everybody came together, had a good time. The Lord was glorified. People got evangelized. Folks getting counseled. Somebody got free tonight, right? Kind of stuff. And nobody walks away with a whole bunch of burden. Yeah. And that was, one of the things that informed us early on is like, yeah, we just got to educate people. But at the same time, like if there's a spot where we can take a chance, let's take the chance, but let's see about how to do it in a partnership as opposed to us being the ones who are like left out up the creek without a paddle. Yeah.
Oh, that's real. have you guys found it easier to educate the artists based on some of the new analytics you have from streaming services and things like that? Like I've seen, I saw one artist that we're saying they were going to go on tour based on their 5 biggest streaming areas. You know what I mean? And that was, I guess, the basis of the tour, how they decided. But like, you know, when you guys look at that, like, you know, are those some of the analytics? I'm sure you're looking at social media reach and, you know, just general buzz and, you know, in the community. But, you know,
I think for us, because we're located in 2 different cities and we're stationary.
Yep.
That we do in some cases, but in most cases we look at, okay, what's the buzz in our city? I think that's one of the main things that we have to look at as promoters from where our stance. Because back home, Indianapolis is a different beast than LA. Yeah. Somebody will get 200, 300, maybe even 400 in LA that only gets 50 to 100 in Indianapolis.
Wow.
And I'm talking about maybe 150. I'm talking about Humble Beast, 400 in LA, 100, 150 in Indianapolis. So it's tough, man. I mean, that's what we have to do, basically. Yeah.
And the thing is, you know what that ends up doing is there's a lot of local guys who are really excited about what we're doing and they want us to be excited about what they're doing. But I'm like, man, it doesn't make sense for us to do that for you.
It's not that we're hating.
Because the local guy is like, hey, man, yo, can y'all, I want to drop this. I'm about to drop this mixtape next week. I'm trying to do a release party. You think we could do this? What kind of venues you got? And I'm like, yeah, you probably need to get on a circuit where you open up for some folks.
Open up.
And do some stuff on your own bill, right? But you need to just get into the general public. You need to create a following. We can't just go and throw a big old party. You saw what we did for Prop. It was a cake and everybody had candles and, you know, flashing lights. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't make sense to do that for you because, number one, we don't lead with money. Money is going to be in there and it's important. But like the biggest determining factors for us that shape whether or not we're going to do something is not always just a money thing. And so this person is looking at how can I gain some resource from it? How can y'all set a stage for me to get the money? And we're saying like, yeah, there's a little bit more to it. And what you're looking for is a byproduct of the fact that you got a buzz and you've been able to actually do something that is edifying the body and it's building momentum, you know, so for itself. So.
Yeah. No, that's good.
But I was going to say something else about the streaming services.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I was surprised about, I honestly think that we might have missed the boat on like catching that in the beginning. Yo, man, I was streaming Andy's album and Songkick told me that he was performing at our concert in 3 weeks. That's dope. And I said, what? I clicked it and it took us to our tickets.
That's dope.
I was like, are you serious?
That's dope.
So I didn't realize that the streaming was bringing everybody in. Like, Spotify brought in Andy Minio's show on their own because, you know, it's all connected when they, you know, update their events. So artists, like that's some of the stuff that you yourself got to manage. Like update your events because there's free promotion out there.
Yep.
I mean, and that joint sold out.
Well, whenever I was gonna say, on Spotify, whenever you type in an artist's name, it'll tell you upcoming concerts.
Where they at in the whole night. Yeah. So I was surprised when I
saw. That's dope though. It's just
saw that on my own.
Yeah. That's big.
It is.
That's big.
Hey, we need everything.
That's what's up. So, you know, you guys, I recently did an interview with Shylin that a lot of people are talking about, and part of it is just some of the things he's addressing in his music in terms of the shift in Christian rap. You guys have seen it from a promoter standpoint, right? How has that even impacted what you guys do, or has it?
Yeah, it has. I love Reach Records.
Yeah,
I love Lampmo. We've worked a lot with both companies. But we can't do Reach Records anymore. They're out of reach for us as far as financially is concerned. We don't have the funds it takes to put them down and they're Live Nation now. So
what's that mean for just the average person who's watching? Like when you say they're Live Nation,
it's a good thing for
I understand what you're saying,
but genre.
Yeah.
But for promoters, it's tough because we can no longer book them. They are under contract, and when we try to book them for a city, it has to be a certain mile radius.
Wow.
that he can or can't do, a concert in, or it has to be a certain type of event. It can't just be a concert. So that makes it tough on promoters. And from that standpoint, well, can you go back to the question again?
Yeah, I was just saying the way things have shifted in the genre in recent years. How has that impacted, or has it impacted what you guys do as promoters?
I can speak to one side. Why do you think? One thing is, so I remember "Don't Waste Your Life" tour.
Sure.
Okay. I remember the first Unashamed tour before that one.
Yeah.
And
when they was on the plane with they had a tour bus.
Yeah, I mean, I picked them up in my raggedy car. I sent the homie to the Holiday Inn to give him a haircut. So here's the deal. Like, at the end of these shows, there was always this assumed license that the churches and ministries would have, that they could garner the fact that Reach has just brought 800 people into my sanctuary, and we got 45 members, but we a dying church, but because we got this large building, like all these youth is in here, right? There was this license that people, or this window people used to jump through and get up and do altar calls, or get up and start promoting their ministry. They would get up and start just going in directions that didn't even fit. We did "Don't Waste Your Life" at a local Victory Outreach in San Bernardino.
Wow.
And the thing is we did it there because there needed to be a show in the Inland Empire, and that was the space that we could have that would suit everything. But then when the guy got up and he began to share, like do an altar call and things like that, he was in some ways preaching things that Reach doesn't preach. He was saying things that's a little bit different. Yeah. Right?
So there's a little disconnect.
I'm saying a little bit different. But what I mean is there's some fundamental issues with what he's saying that's disconnected from what Reach Records just, what the artist just put forward on stage, and also Reach Life had a pre-conference. Or a pre-concert.
They used to have those meetings with all the youth pastors and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we already met with everybody, and we had a plan that Show Baraka is going to share the gospel because he's from San Bernardino.
Yep.
And then we're going to have all of these pastors out here who are going to respond, and they're going to be able to, bring folks to counseling and things like that. And they just did whatever. So what happened was, I believe that as the platform grew and business grew, especially with Reach Records, they kind of had to start taking more control of that and pulling some of that back in. So I think that in some ways, depending on what the platform is, that's been a good outgrowth. The other side is you have the Lamb Mode, the Humble Beast, whatever. And the thing is that their music is saturated. They coin it lyrical theology. So you're going to get the gospel from front to back. It's not as much like turn up music. And then let me help you understand what that was all about by giving you some caveats, right? It's more like, hey, this is the gospel. You need to understand it. This is what it accomplishes for you. This is how you repent and believe it. You can do that right now.
Look, you even got the flow.
You know what I mean?
You got the boom.
So here's the thing. I think it's so much room for both, and both are so good.
Absolutely.
But with this recent shift that has drawn, and what I'm going to call a false dichotomy, it's drawn a false dichotomy between one and the other. It is actually leading people who have been influenced by the genre to start making, they're overcompensating and like, okay, well, I'm of this camp and I'm of that camp.
Conclusions.
Yeah, like Craig,
solely based off music.
Yeah, Craig didn't make those conclusions that some of the guys are making, but it's always like that. The followers, they kind of go and they overemphasize whoever they're following, even though they might not even know the guy.
Yeah, so I think it's turned into a us versus them instead of just
that's unfortunate.
Like an actual conversation. Like we're all like we're one squad.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
We got different players that.
Yeah. I was just talking to a guy via Facebook concerning Charlene.
Yeah,
he's like, he's a hypocrite. He just goes after. All he does is just make songs to go after people, and I'm like, have you ever met the guy?
Yeah.
He's not like that in person at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got an edge to him, but I think that's more geographical than him being a jerk.
Yeah.
Not at all. So I think you have to, you can't look at a person's artwork and determine how they are in real life outside of that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to do that, but that's what the masses are doing. and they have no clue about what the business is like behind closed doors. People talk about Lecrae all day long, but they don't know that from a business, the industry standpoint, the industry hates him, and the only reason they're messing with him to this day is because he made it on his own.
Yeah.
Or else they would have been messing with him.
Yeah.
You know, been playing him on the radio. So the industry hates him from that side, and because they see other artists liking them, they think that speaks for the whole industry. No, these are individuals that like him, that are cool with him, not the presidents of the record. The fact that he got a Grammy without a song being played on the radio is the devil to them. You know,
they're not feeling that.
Yeah, they're not feeling that.
Especially the business people.
Exactly. So it's tough when people outside the business don't know what's really going on behind closed doors.
Which is most believers in Christian hip hop.
Yeah.
Don't know nothing about the business. Just have an opinion and retweet and, get crazy online. So
yeah.
But the reason why I spoke to those concerts in the first place and how they shifted is just because what I was going to say is when they reined it in and said, okay, so we're going to change things like this, and they began to continue to beat the same drums and music, it did not change the fact that I was at Long Beach Poly at a future tour with Craig, standing on the side with a dude who was most likely high at the moment. He's weeping and crying like, man, everything y'all been saying up there, like I need to change today. Wow. And Craig in the back, like sharing the gospel with dude, but he didn't do a lyrical theology like set.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
And the thing is that it's still the very same. You listen to Church Close 1 to 3, you listen to Anomaly, the message hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. People get concerned when they hear a single and they don't know the rest of whatever. But the truth of the matter is that he's still saying the same thing. So I think Shy has said,
listen to music, they just skim
down. Yeah. So like Shy has said many times that like that is a honor that's a way to do music in terms of Christian hip hop.
He literally says there are artists from the church and there are artists for the church.
Yeah.
He's always made that distinction.
So Shai's like, that's a way. That's a good way. Probably not the best way. Mm-hmm. So from Shai's perspective, it'll be much better, and it is the best thing to use the platform to be able to preach the gospel overtly every time, because you have an audience that will listen, and the gospel is the power and the salvation, right? That's Romans 1:16. And from Craig's perspective, he's essentially saying, I don't disagree with that. The only thing is, I'm not a pastor like you're a pastor. And so the way that you think through these things, I'm thinking from the street level, and these are the people that I now am with. When I'm sitting backstage in these places and people are getting high and they see me pushing away, et cetera, I get opportunities with them. And in my music, you got millions of people who are now able to listen to it. And the truth of the matter is that he still continues to point to Jesus as the way and the answer. You know what I mean?
I think too, your witness is a sermon in and of itself. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned when you're around people getting high and they see you pushing away, that's a sermon, bro. That's a sermon. That's an opportunity. That's a part of your witness that oftentimes speaks louder than words, because I can tell you I don't get high, but then if you saw me getting high, you don't believe anything else that I say.
True.
But even if I never say I don't get high, and when y'all going around doing it, and then I kind of pull back a little bit and I don't partake in that, you're wondering, well, let me investigate this further. Why is he on that? But you're gonna say something though.
That's cool.
You sure?
Yeah. But so look, the other side is when Shai's writing the songs that he's writing now, I can yes and amen them as well.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's the following and the followers. His beef with artists who have a interview with the mainstream and not point to the church in a positive light, and to treat the church like the little brother and stuff like that. Like that is a good beef, and I think that's an exhortation and admonishment that I have personally sat back and listened to. I think you and I were in a conversation in Atlanta where it was Ambassador was talking to Craig about some of those same things, and Craig's response is like, man, like I can hear that, like I feel you, like that's not the intention. So when brothers are talking like that, they winning each other, they're reconciled to each other, they're loving each other. But like when it gets to the masses of people who are not even at the center of the stuff, and they're just going in these off directions. Like I could write a song like Ichabod just like I was Shy, because I don't think he's not writing that about a artist. Right. What he's saying is has the glory left because now all y'all trying to do your own thing. It seems like it's about you now. It's not about the Lord, and that's not why we do what we do. You know, so I think it's both ends. It's not an either or for me.
So let me. I'm actually glad you brought that up in that struggle, because when I first heard Ichabod, one of the things that made me do is take a self-inventory of myself. Because when you're doing anything publicly, particularly in this age of social media and the like, you know what I mean? It's like you write a tweet, see how many people retweeted this, how many people like that. I post something on Instagram, see how many people like this. I post something on Facebook, see how many people shared this or like this or love this, whatever the case may be. And so there's a balance that we all have to go through of figuring out, like, I kind of have to let people know what I'm doing and in essence build a brand. But what's more important? Pointing people to the Lord and doing all these things so that people can kind of understand and know more about the Lord and experience Him for themselves, or is building my brand most important? From you guys' vantage point as promoters, because obviously you got to tell people about the shows. You want to have artists that have followings and all of that stuff, because it has to make financial sense. How do you balance that?
The audience is key, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is that you could be the greatest. I mean, I know some artists that got music that is ridiculously good in terms of like get you turned up, party, like whatever, but nobody's checking for them. And so it still doesn't make dollars and cents to put that show together in the way in which, you know, you would a typical show. Then I have other artists who, like, somebody gonna get saved to hearing this, because dude is just unpacking deep things very simply, put it on the bottom shelf to where like a 5-year-old could get it, which is what Shy has mastered. I'll never forget Penelope Judd. I feel like my kids have like understood the journey to the kingdom because of that. You know what I mean? And so here's the thing. There are artists who are not Shylin who also rap that way, but you can't get 10 people in the room to listen to them. Does that make sense? So we still have to count the cost, as it were, and then weave them into other things. That's why I say when I talk to artists, I'm like, hey, you need to go on a circuit where you start opening up for people. So now what does an artist do? This is what the Dream Junkies and Ruslan and Believe was doing for years. They would always come to me and be like, hey man, we're gonna come, we're gonna give CDs away. We're gonna tell people you can have a donation, have a donation for us if you want to. We're just gonna give it to them. Can we just get 15 minutes? Can we rock? And I'm like, yo, y'all gonna add value to the show? Right. I like what you're doing. Absolutely, let's do it. Now they own the up and down the West Coast. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so the thing is that there's the artist has to still bring the audience, or else what we're doing doesn't have the effect that we desire. Because I want to put together people who love what Shy is doing, but who are also going to do like my boy in Minnesota. He was brought to a show that Shy was doing by somebody else who was already a believer. And he got saved that day. So we're not just thinking about the followers, we're thinking about who they're going to bring, right? And how it's going to expand. So I don't know if it answers your question directly, but that's what's like that's what leads the thoughts. That's what leads what we do and how we make those decisions.
So one of the things that I've heard from artists, and they've brought you guys up in particular, is that we need more guys like them. We need more guys like Soundvision and some of the other promoters that are really doing it in their cities, man. I would just love, real quick, from each of you, maybe a couple things that you would share with aspiring promoters, people who are thinking about jumping into this or whatever, that, you know what I mean? What goes into doing a good show, or, just things you guys been doing this right close to 10 years now. Maybe something that you wish somebody would have told you when you were first starting into this.
Don't quit your day job. Yeah.
Okay. That's a great one.
Do not expect for this to. You're gonna be an anomaly if you're like Kingdom Promo.
Yeah. Shout out to Kingdom Promo. Shout out to them.
Because there's so many big fish out there that as soon as you start making a buzz, they're calling you and they end up taking your database.
Yeah.
That's the emails that you own, and because they want you to help promote for $1 or $2 a head.
Yep.
Now they have your database that you did all this work for. what are you gonna do? Say no to help promote and get more promotion out there for an artist that you like that they might be booking? It's tough, man.
Or be smart about it. Tell them, send me the HTML code. I'll send the e-pass.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'll send them out.
I'll send them out.
No, we do that. Trust.
We do that too, yeah.
But
So yeah, don't quit your day job. I say you gotta pray through everything. One thing that I had to learn early on, this is before we even connected, was that you cannot be afraid of having people with a higher lid in another area pertaining to putting events together to come alongside you and work with you. You can't be a dictator. Just because you think you have the vision right doesn't mean you can execute it on your own. That's important.
yeah, I totally agree. I think another bit of advice that I would give to somebody aspiring to promote, I would say, like, you know, as you think about getting into hosting artists and events and putting on events, you have to know your why. And that's any business, right? So Waito doesn't become a syndicated, you know, he's not syndicated on radio and things like that, just automatically and right out the first time he ever starts spinning and whatnot. But he knows why he's doing this and what the vision is. And so I think crystallizing a vision for it, and for us, we want to be able to say, this is what we say, we want to edify the saints and evangelize the ain'ts. So that's the reason why even when an artist decides to go in a different direction and they're no longer doing music that would be overtly Christian, they just want to do positive hip hop, they would probably see them less and less at a Soundvision show, just on the strength that that's not going to push the vision that we have, right? And so that has happened even locally, mostly with smaller artists or whatever, because the shift will be really sharp. So I'll give you an example. John Gibbs, some of his first shows were our shows, like the first 2 or 3, right? And the Lord has opened a door for him, Interscope. I'm waiting to hear music because his platform may grow, but Soundvision might not be the right place for him. Right. It'd be better for him to go into one of the general market venues and work with some promoter who is going to put him on that stage and invite the right people in. But he's been on that trajectory since I first met him. Sure. Because he did a thing at Movement Church, and I was there.
That's their church in San Marcos.
Yeah, San Marcos. Yeah. Fam, it smelled like weed in there. The whole hood was in there. Dudes was in there with they was banging, but they was in the church. And this was kind of a homecoming for him. And he was doing a show. And so the thing is like, if God has called him to be able to go and to impact the broader market in that manner, then he's going to probably not be dead central to our vision. So when you decide you're going to do promotion, like, you got to be able to say what your lane is and what your lane is not. And so if you can crystallize your vision that way, I think it'd be helpful to know how to measure success too.
It's good. What shows you guys have coming up?
Right now it's Poets and Autumn.
Poets and Autumn.
I was about to say P4.
That's so big. That's so big right now.
I'm working on that.
I'm grateful for just how that has grown. The amazing thing about the Poets and Autumn, man, I remember Ezekiel came to the crib. He had a little, what do you call them, notebooks, a steno or whatever it is, and he was just asking me questions. He came to the house.
You know what's funny, bro?
What?
He came to me. He came to a bunch of
just asking questions, right?
Asking questions, bro.
Fam,
wise.
Because I saw Ezekiel the first time he ever did poetry, and I knew that he rapped at that time.
Yeah.
In LA, in the little bitty warehouse at what used to be called Lyricist Lounge and grew into Rhetoric. Right? And I knew at that moment, like, man, this dude is ridiculous, right? And so as he's been able to grow and to mature, then even getting into the business side, like I sing nothing but praises for them because I saw him take the posture of a learner. He literally came to my house and was just, and I didn't live, he drove from South Central LA to Santa Clarita where I was. That was an hour, and he came.
Just to learn.
Yep. And then he asked me, man, like, do you think you could go on tour with us? And I'm like, nah, man, I got 6 kids at the house. I got 7 now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got 6 kids at home. We homeschool, blah, blah. Like, I can't travel with you like that. Yeah. But I know somebody else you should call. So I gave him 2 numbers. I gave him Suleki's number in New York, and I gave him Nehemiah's number. And you see, Nehemiah Kingdom Promo has been able to breathe the life into the Poets in Autumn that they desire.
The right infrastructure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The right infrastructure,
so then Nehemiah is like, hey, we coming to your town here. Yeah. You know, and so doing the Poets in Autumn, that's coming up. And then we actually been regrouping to find out what's our niche at this point, because the market has been so much of a, like, you know, it's not division, but it's compartmentalizing in ways that it used to not be. When We Live as Kings, like you said, brought it all together.
What's bringing it together?
We need something else like that. Yeah, we need something else like that right now.
Everybody lends an ear. I want to thank you in advance for letting us make it clear to y'all on the Wado Radio Show.
Thanks for tuning in to another Wado Radio full interview. This was made possible in part by our affiliate, Covenant Eyes. The internet can be a dangerous place for unguarded eyes and hearts. Covenant Eyes provides the services that protect against the evils and temptations that can be found on the World Wide Web. Established over a decade ago, Covenant Eyes is the pioneer in internet accountability software, empowering its members to maintain their online integrity. I personally use them on every device that I have: computer, iPhone, iPad, whole 9 yards. Don't go another day without guarding your eyes, your mind, and your heart. Visit wadoradio.com/resources for more information about Covenant Eyes. And if you sign up via our affiliate link at wadoradio.com/resources, we'll give you a month free. Covenant Eyes, trusted by thousands of families, including mine. This interview was brought to you by our sponsor, Devin Turner. This MC and pastor is not only putting out great music, but he's doing phenomenal work in his community and abroad. Check out his new album, Luminary, available on all digital outlets. For more info, visit his website at devinturner.org.
Thank you for downloading the Wado Radio Podcast. If you love what you're hearing, leave a review on iTunes. We'd love to hear your feedback, and it helps expose others to the show. Thank you, and God bless.